Share you a thought today about wine. The last week's Parsha Shmini, so we find a fascinating point, which is leading also into Achrimos, that Aaron HaKohen, when his two children died, Vayidam Aaron, was completely quiet. And I had thought about this Vayidam Aaron, that Vayidam comes from Lashon Domim. We know there are four levels of creation. There's Domim, Someach, Chaim, and Daber. There's inanimate, completely inanimate life. That's Domim. Someach is plants. Chai is any living creature, and Medaber is talking. And then the Kuzari says this Klal Yisrael is the fifth level. So my thought was that Vayidam Aaron, he made himself like a domim. He made himself like no reaction at all, nothing, as if he was a rock. And I saw the Chavetz Chaim says that this was a very, very great madrega to not be affected at all by what's going on around us, and to realize that it has nothing to do with the way it looks. That life is not at all the way it looks. It's just a silkscreen. It's really just a isgalus, revelation of Hashem's infinitely wise will taking place in this world, which we don't understand. And the more quiet we are, the better we'll be, because we understand absolutely nothing. Hashem does us a great kindness and lets us think that we understand something, but in truth we really understand nothing. And I saw a very amazing question in the Sefer Zera Shimshon, which my friend Nachman Seltzer so kindly translated parts of it. And the Zera Shimshon asked as follows: that which I was learning with my wife, we're learning it in English in his edition of the Zera Shimshon on Shabbos, and we saw the following question: that why was it that the reward for this act of Vayidam Aaron was that the parsha of Shasu Yayin, the prohibition of going into the avoda, serving in the temple, drunk or not even drunk, after drinking a revias, a small amount of wine, was revealed only through Aaron. Why was this commiserate reward? Why was this measure for measure? He says an answer, but I'd like to offer my own answer as follows: the whole parsha of wine has really one of the primary functions of wine is to comfort the mourners. As the Pasuk in Mishlei Perek Lamed says, right? Attain shekel ovid b'yayin lamar nefesh. The Gemara learns in Ksubas that they used to give 7 cups of wine to the mourners to comfort them. And the reason that wine comforts a mourner is because wine shatters. It creates a distortion of reality, or an expansion of reality, as it were. Right? It helps us see things very, very different light, which is, as we said, is always the case. We're never seeing things really accurately. We're only seeing things the way they appear, which is not accurate. Really, things are much, much deeper than that. So wine creates that distortion of reality, which is important for a mourner, because his reality has been shattered with the death of the beloved. And that's why wine is so useful for mourners. On the other hand, in the Beis Hamikdash, it's a no-no. Because when a person's in the Beis Hamikdash, that is the reality. There is no greater reality than being in the Beis Hamikdash, and especially doing the avoda, especially for the Kohanim, in the Beis Hamikdash doing the avoda. That is the greatest reality. To drink wine at the avoda is a clash. It's a clash, because wine is not needed. The Beis Hamikdash is complete truth. There's no time or space in the Beis Hamikdash. As the Chasam Sofer says, they were omdim svufim and shtachim ravacha. They stood crowded like this, but when they bowed down, there was plenty of room. Says the Chasam Sofer, the miracle was that it was crowded, because bowing down and plenty of room, that's the status quo in the Beis Hamikdash. There is no time or space. It is the ultimate reality in the Beis Hamikdash. And so to drink wine when you're doing the avoda, that's a contradiction. So now we have Aaron HaKohen. He's an Avel. He just lost his 2 children. And yet, right, so that would be a time for wine, but yet he's the Kohen Gadol, so he can't drink wine. So how do we synthesize this reality? So Aaron HaKohen is just completely quiet. He creates a distortion of the reality that happened in this world, of the death of his two beloved children. And Aaron was Oiv Shalom, Roiv Shalom. He was the very warm, uh, the quintessential warm leader of the Jewish people. For 60 days, he was mourned. Kol Beis Israel, even the women mourned him because he was always making peace between husband and wife and friends. And instead of turning to wine, Aaron uses his own faculty of understanding, just completely quiet. He uses his own level of perception to use his own level of perception to reach that reality. And this is why I believe that the parsha of Shasu Yayin comes through Aaron, on Aaron alone. The idea of a parsha being revealed only by one person was primarily given to Moshe Rabbeinu. It's called Moshe Rabbeinu because almost the entire Torah Sheba'al Peh was given through Moshe. Really, the one exception here is the parsha of Shasu Yayin, which is about the distortion of reality, right? And because Aaron HaKohen was able to connect to the real reality of the deeper meaning of Hashem's actions, even killing Nadav Avihu, because he was able to do that without wine, right? So he was given the parsha of Shasu Yayin, of not drinking wine at the time of serving in the Beis Hamikdash, only through him, which is the ultimate closeness that a person can relate to God, is that one parsha of the Torah should be given over to him, which is primarily Moshe Rabbeinu, but now at this point it was given to Aaron. So this is the answer, or another answer to the Zera Shimshon's question. Why was this commensurate reward? Why was this appropriate reward for Aaron HaKohen to after Vayidam Aaron, after he was quiet? The reason is because he achieved this level of altered state of reality, right, or connecting to the real state of reality without wine. Normally, a more needs wine to reach that state of reality. Aaron HaKohen was able to reach it without wine, and which that's a level which is parallel to the level of talking to Hashem, the ultimate connection with reality, as the Rambam writes in the beginning of his Sefer, right? That there is no emes there is no truth like the truth of God. It's the ultimate truth. It's the ultimate truth. And Aaron HaKohen was able to reach that reality without wine, in the state of mourning, to reach without wine. So he was given that altered state of reality, which is not really altered, but it is the ultimate reality of talking to God directly, which was at all of the times given to Moshe Rabbeinu, specifically in this parsha of Shasu Yayin, specifically in the concept of not drinking wine during the avoda. It was given to Aaron at this time. So we just sum up what we said here today, some very deep ideas. The idea of drinking wine creates an altered state of reality, right? Which reality means our perception of reality. It helps a person connect to the real reality, right? Which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why normally an Avel drinks wine, 7 cups of wine, as the Gemara says in Ksubas, because his reality, his perception of reality has been shaken up by the death of his close beloved, and therefore he's given these cups of wine in order to soothe what his perception of reality and connect to the real reality as well. Right? That is important in general for a mourner outside the Beis Hamikdash. For Kohen in the Beis Hamikdash to alter the state of reality is a big transgression, and that's why Nadav and Avihu, one of the reasons why they died, so according to one explanation, they drank wine, and because you don't need an altered state of reality in the Beis Hamikdash. The Beis Hamikdash is the reality. It's the ultimate state of reality, to be close to God. And therefore, the reward that Aaron HaKohen was given for Vayidam Aaron, for not needing wine and for accepting completely God's will for the death of his 2 children, Vayidam Aaron, was that this parsha, this section of the Torah that deals with the prohibition to alter one's state of reality in the Beis Hamikdash, was given through Aaron, because he reached that state. Right? He was able to reach that state without the wine. He was the quintessential, the prototype um, victor in this battle of dealing with what seems like reality and connecting to the real state of reality by just accepting God's will with the death of his two children. And therefore, the Parsha, the prohibition of not altering one's state of reality when the Beis Hamikdash was given through him, which by giving it through him and connecting straight to God and what he said, right, that is the ultimate state of reality, to be one-on-one conversation with God, as Shusha Pincus once told me when I was by his house, Shabbos Beloscha, over 30 years ago. He said, "B'kol Beisi Nemanu, B'kol Beisi Nemanu." He said Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to us, to Moshe Rabbeinu, like I'm speaking to you now. And this was a very, very great thing. So we have here something, wine, can alter reality. That could be very good, right? On Yontif, it can help us connect to the Chag, it can help us forget about any issues we might have. When a person's Aval Chas V'Shalom, it can help us connect. On Purim, we drink wine, Ad Lo Yada, to connect to the higher state of reality. That's all during in places outside the Beis Hamikdash. In the Beis Hamikdash, for a kohen doing his avoda, it's forbidden to drink wine because there one is not meant to alter state of reality. And the parsha of this was given to Aaron HaKohen after he reached a state of uh, self-generated altered reality. He was able to transform the incredibly painful experience of losing two children to be accepted completely, quiet, through his love of God. And for that reason, he was given this prohibition, was said through him. Out of the 613 mitzvahs, this one was given through Aaron. I guess we could say also Slavchad, but no Slavchad, they got the mitzvahs of inheritance. But most of the other mitzvahs of the Torah were given through Moshe Rabbeinu. And as they're being given over, that state of tremendous closeness to God, one-on-one, speaking with God. So that tremendous state of closeness, right, which is connection to the real reality, is not reached through wine, is only reached through our avodas Hashem. Remember, Shimshon Pincus once said, "So the problem that I have with dancing after davening, he said it's too quick. He said you don't get there so quickly. Right? It takes a lot of work to get to that level of closeness to God. We should all get there, and if we need to drink wine, when we need to drink wine, we should drink wine, make a tova meitiv, as I spoke about sharing not too long ago. And but when we're in the avodah, especially when we're in the Beis Hamikdash, we should all be there soon. We should understand that wine is not the way to go. Hashem should help us to reach this great level of closeness soon. All of us to be connected to the real reality here in the Beis Hamikdash. Amen. King